In today's fabulous tutorial, we're going to be making... Stop! You need to stop it. We're going to be making some cute Halloween cards. Like, you guys know that I love to make greeting cards. Greeting cards are my very first craft that I ever started doing. It started off with invitations, making regular invitations for little events or whatever it is that we were having. So, anywho, I graduated into like the greeting cards, the birthday cards, anniversary cards, the thank yous, and all that stuff throughout the years, my little crafty monsters. And of course, I've done other crafts too. Like I do a lot of like decoration crafts and stuff like that. But anywho, we're going to be making these little bad boys today. We are making some Vellum little ghost cards. And so let me read you what it says in the inside because it is super cute. So this is the outside, and in the inside it says, "Happy haunting, have a spooktacular Halloween." How cute is that, right? So that's what it says in the inside, and you could go ahead and write your message. But these are the little bad boys that we are going to be making today. Now, these are super duper easy. Just go ahead and make these for like an invitation if you're having a Halloween party, or if you're just want to give a Halloween card to somebody. This would be really perfect for that. That's basically what I like to do. So I like to send out sometimes some little Halloween cards to my special little family members, and send them a little Halloween, a little cutesy little something. I really love how these ones came out with our little dies. We use these little dies that we use for Christmas. I do believe it's a Christmas one. They're supposed to be like white or something, but we went ahead and we made them in black, and it just made it look more like a little Halloweenish. So anyway, let's not waste any more time, my little crafty monsters, because I know you want to get down and dirty. So let's get down and dirty, boo-boos, and I will see you in a bit. Alrighty then, my little crafty monsters, let's get down and dirty and make these little bad boys right here. These are some cute little cards that we could make for invitations for a Halloween party, or send these as a birthday card for a birthday person, a special little someone in our life. These are some paper pads that we got from a really dear friend of mine, Teresa, and she sent us a bunch of little Halloween paper packs, and so we're gonna go ahead and use these bad boys to make the background of our little card. I liked how it had that little spooky forest, so we're gonna use that as a background for our card. We're also gonna allow that to be one of the main focuses as well. Now the second little DSP paper that we picked out, we're not going to go with that one. I ended up going with something a little bit different because I just wanted something different. So now right here, you just need your little vellum paper. Now vellum paper, I'm going to tell you guys right now, that is very hard to stamp because it's such a slick surface that it takes a long time for the ink to dry. Now usually, if I'm going to stamp on either acetate or vellum, I would have used a StazOn ink, because the StazOn ink is basically for all slick surfaces, and it basically stays on there. However, we didn't have any StazOn ink that was in black. I did have like a midnight blue, but not black. So I didn't use it, and we ended up using this VersaFine ink. However, the trick to this is basically letting it dry as much as you possibly can. So I'm going to go ahead and fan it a little bit so that it kind of dries. You can tell when it's still wet because you'll see all of the little shiny ink just sitting on the top of the paper. So right here, I'm just going to go ahead and fan it to give it a little extra boost on the drying process, and then we're going to go ahead and set these little bad boys on the side. Then we're going to go ahead and come back with a napkin, and we're going to dab the rest of the ink that did not dry on those. That's basically my little trick on vellum. Just, you guys will see. So right here, we're just going to go ahead and cut our DSP paper down to a card mat. If you guys don't know about card bases and card mats, there will be a link in the bottom description. And that is for a tutorial that I made on card mats and card bases. And then it'll give you the measurements on there. So we just cut that down as a card mat, like I said, and we're going to go ahead and start die cutting our little village. And this is a little village that I purchased from AliExpress, and I think that these are a little Christmas village, but we can basically use these year round because I mean it really doesn't have snow on it or anything like that, so you could basically use them for anything. Now, if you guys don't have this specific little village die set, I'm pretty sure that you have another village, or maybe you have like a stamp of a village or something like that. But, you know, any village would work. Go ahead and cut that out in black just to give it that little black shadow effect, like the dark. So it just looks a lot cuter in this little Halloween theme. And so that's what we're going to do here. And I'm running this down a few times because I want to make sure that I get enough little houses. I believe that at the moment when I was cutting these little bad boys, I didn't know exactly how many houses were going to fit onto the little card. But after we put the card together, we figured that only 3 little houses fit per card, which is good because now we have extra little houses that we could use on other little Halloween cards. And so right here, I'm just going to go ahead and pick out all of the little parts that never fall out of these dies. Oh my god, these are so annoying sometimes. This part is the part that I hate, when you're cutting intricate little dies and you have to pop out all those little pieces. I don't know why. To me, it just is. And that little brush really doesn't help too much on the actual paper. It helps on the die itself, but not on the paper, because the paper basically will bend. And I mean, that's just a total different story. We're not even going to get into that, my little crafty monsters. Let's continue crafting. And so right here, after you got all of these little bad boys all taken out, which there's a few that we didn't, but the ones you did, go ahead and set those aside because you will be using those. And like I said, we will only use 3 of them. Now, if you did the card in a landscape side, you would have been able to fit a lot more little houses on that card. But since we did a portrait style, it's only 3. So right here, I'm just looking for a orange paper. I don't have orange cardstock, so I had to pick out one of these little DSP papers here. And so we're only going to be using the orange part of the paper. I'm going to go ahead and save that little trick-or-treat and that little spider into our little box of Halloween paper, and we'll use that on a different project. But for right here, I'm just going to go ahead and use just the orange. And these little white papers that we cut, we're going to go ahead and use those as a card mat for the inside of our greeting card. And this is the white cardstock that we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment in. And I love to do this on black paper because, I mean, on black card bases, because it just basically stands out. And you could just basically use a embossing powder, like a white embossing powder, or any embossing powder that you could go ahead and glue the sentiment. I mean, that you can go ahead and stamp the sentiment onto the inside, and then just use a white gel pen to write on these cards. I think that would look really, really cute. But for the most part, just to make it a lot easier, because not everybody has a gel pen on hand. Well, I mean, at least not everybody who's not a crafter. This would be easier for them to just go ahead and grab a pen and just write their little sentiment, I mean their little message onto the recipient. And so right here, we're just using our little stamp perfect tool, and we're just going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. You guys have seen me use this stamping tool before, and I like to use this when I'm doing sentiments because I want it to be nice and crisp, and I don't want to have any risk of it messing up or anything like that. So basically use a tool for your sentiment stamping, just so it's perfect. Now that we got that little bad boy done, then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start putting our little card together. And then after that, we're going to have to cut out our little ghost. Don't forget about the ghost. They're drying still. I'm just doing all of these little steps because I'm trying to give those little ghosts a little extra time to basically dry. You don't want them to, that ink to smudge and to smear everywhere. Trust me, it's going to be a big mess. But the way I do it, it prevents any of that smudging and smearing. So right here, now all I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out where I want that little orange piece of paper, because I want it to look more like a little belly band in front of the card. And in front of that, I'm going to actually put like a little purple a purple bow out of ribbon. So it's kind of like a little belly band, like I said, like a little look that I'm trying to go for. And then the houses were going to basically pop out from behind the belly band, and then the ghosts were going to be behind the house. So it was all just a layer effect. And so this is the way that my vision of my little head was looking. And the reason why I got this idea on the little vellum ghost was because if you guys have been following me for a while, you guys have noticed that this is kind of the same thing that we did for a Mother's Day card of last year. It was with the vellum leaves. We kind of like layered them and we made them look kind of... It turned out to be a really amazing looking Mother's Day card. So you guys should definitely check that out. You guys might use that for this coming year. And so all I'm doing here now is I'm getting a Kleenex and I'm just going to go ahead and just put it on top of my stamped images without smearing or without sliding the paper. I was just dabbing the ink off, and once you dab all the excess wet ink, then you're good to go, boo-boos. Now right here, we're just gonna go ahead and cut these out, and since there's only one little die for all of these ghosts, this is gonna take a while. So I know that I'm kind of torturing you guys on making you guys watch me cut every single one of these. It'll go pretty fast though, my little crafty monsters. Now, if you guys don't have this little die that I'm using right here, this die is from a Lawn Fawn stamp set that I have, that I purchased about 2 years ago. You guys already know that I'm a big Lawn Fawn fan. I haven't purchased anything lately, like within the last year, but for the most part, I was on a rampage buying all kinds of Lawn Fawn stuff. So I do have quite of a big collection on Lawn Fawn. And so this was a little cute stamp set that I had purchased that I remembered, oh my god, I have a ghost that's kind of big enough to make a little greeting card. So we're just using the little ghost from that stamp set. And I'm sure that there's other little ghost stamps, dies that are out there that you guys could basically use. Or if there's even some paper punches, definitely use those and just layer them. You'll get the same effect. You don't have to have this exact same die and stamp. And so now what we're going to do, now that we have all of our little vellum ghost, we're going to go ahead and start kind of layering them so I kind of get an idea on how I want this to look. And I want them to look like they're kind of like floating up from behind the homes. And so that's basically the look we're going to go ahead and go with. And I do like that I'm going to go ahead and use all 6 ghosts per card, because it just fills it up in the background and it looks so much cuter. Right here, I'm going to go ahead and glue the little nose, but when I smudged the glue, it kind of like spread, and I didn't like how that looked once it dried, because vellum is see-through and it's transparent, and so you would be able to see that glue dot and stuff like that. So what I learned is, since we're layering these little bad boys, just glue the tip of the tails of the ghost, and you're gonna hide that tail from behind the next ghost. And that's basically what we did for the leaves on that Mother's Day card, if you guys remember. So I don't know why my little brain didn't remember that part and just do it that way, because on the next card I was a lot more careful and I did not glue anywhere on the face part. And so right here, I'm just going to go ahead and measure where the little houses should go. There is no right or wrong way. If you guys want to put these all the way down to the bottom, definitely put these all the way down to the bottom. But just remember that your belly band is going to cover a lot of that little homes. You just want a little bit of the houses peeping out, kind of like, they're behind a mountain or something. But I also did want to give the bottom part of that card a little bit of a little peep from the DSP paper in the background. So we also went ahead and we put the belly band a little higher than the actual card, just so that you can see that little, like I said, that little peeping out. And using the first card on the placement of these little ghosts, that's what I'm basically doing here. I'm kind of getting a little idea on where these ghosts need to go. And like I said, I learned from the first one that we're going to go ahead and just glue the little tail parts, because for the most part you won't be seeing those little tail parts. They're going to be hidden from behind the little ghost in front. And we got those little bad boys down. Now we're just going to go ahead and glue the little village like we did on the first one. Like I said, if you guys don't have this little village, you guys could use maybe like a little stamp, or maybe you could use like a different kind of village die set that you might have. Um, if you don't have that, maybe you could use some trees, or maybe you have like a die set of a tree. You can use a tree and just cut it out in a black cardstock, or there's just so many different things that you could basically use on here. It doesn't have to be a village, and they don't have to be ghosts. They could be little monsters and goblins, and I mean, it's just to give you guys an idea on how cute your creative mind could get. And so now we're going to go ahead and take out this little 10-second bow maker, and we're going to go ahead and make a little bow out of this purple ribbon that we went ahead and we're going to use as also like a little belly band for the front of this card. And it's just to give it a little extra something. Now, I was originally in my head, I just wanted like a orange belly band the way we are doing it here, but after I was looking at this card and everything, I kind of started thinking that something was missing from that belly band. So we're going to have to end up adding some little extra goodies onto this little belly band. We're going to go ahead and stamp some little Halloween words onto this little belly band. And then we are going to go ahead and make some chains out of some holographic silver cardstock. And you guys are going to see it's going to come out pretty cute, because when I was putting this, I was originally thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to use that orange cardstock and the ribbon, and we're just going to call it a day. But like I said, when I put that on there in my head, I was like, Jesse, something is basically missing on that orange paper. So please do something about it. So that's the way I talk to myself, and I tell myself what to do. Sometimes I could be a little bit bossy, but for the most part, my bossiness is pretty creative. So we always like the end result anyway. So once I picked up all of those little wordings with my little block, I went ahead and I just stamped those onto the orange paper. Now, had this came into my head a lot sooner, I would have done this before I glued this onto that card. But since this idea didn't come until after, we had to just stamp it once it was all glued and all that stuff. So for the next one, we'll do this step before. And now all I'm going to do is just add some double-sided tape around the areas where I know that ribbon belly band that we made is going to go ahead and get attached to. It's just going to hold it down a lot easier. And then we're going to go ahead and add a bunch of glue on the back of these little cards, and then we're going to glue them onto our card base. Jesse, talk right. You don't even know what you're saying. I'm just saying this makes it so much easier, guys, than to try to glue it down and stuff. Sorry, I'm off camera. Sorry, not sorry. Sometimes I keep forgetting that I have to be centered in that little white box, but you just go off sometimes because you get into that groove of the craft. And so once you have those little ribbons down, go ahead and just put glue all over your card and attach that to your card base, and basically you're all done. I mean, we will be adding this cute little googly eye in the front of this little bow, but I thought that's where we were going to stop, but I started seeing the edges of that orange paper, and I started thinking to myself, I'm like, Jesse, like something needs to happen there. And the good thing is that in the process of me thinking that this E6000 was going to work for this little googly eye, which it really didn't. FYI, guys, I don't really think that this was the smartest adhesive to use on here, because first of all, I think the ribbon itself kind of absorbed all of the glue, and it really didn't stick that little googly eye on there. So you're going to see that later on we are going to be adding some hot glue to this little bad boy, and just use that. And so right here we're just going to go ahead and use some little dies. These are a little chain die that I have, and I had purchased this at the scrapbook expo that I attended. Was it last year that I bought them, or the year before? I don't remember, but I purchased them at the expo, and they make these little chain borders, which I think are super duper adorable. Like, you guys, I mean, They're like too freaking cute. And so what we do is we go ahead and just make a little chain, and I'm going to use that as a border for the edges of that little orange belly band. And that's just so that it gives it something to look at, you know, the eye to look at, and then it also kind of hides the edge of that orange paper where it's just not just, you know, a straight sharp seam, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so we're going to go ahead and cut 4 of these little bad boys because we need 2 per card. If you're making more than 2 cards, well, then you basically are going to use more than that. Now, you could use a real chain. I think a real chain media with some E6000 holding it down would look really, really cute. Like maybe this rusted looking chain. You could probably use that. But I don't have some real chain on hand, so we're just going to go ahead and cut this out of the silver cardstock. And all I'm doing is just adding a little bit of glue. Now, this glue is going to seep out from the little holes and the little edges and stuff like that. But for the most part, you want to be just really careful, because once this gets onto your little metallic paper, it fogs it up. It makes it really hard for you to see the brilliantness of this paper, if that makes sense. Does it make sense, Jesse? Shut up. Ay, muchacho, tú no sabes lo que tú estás diciendo. And so basically right here, I'm just going to go ahead and glue the little chain onto the little borders. I actually think that this gave it that little extra something. I really love how that ended up coming out. I mean, that silver just made that whole entire belly band pop, and I just thought it just made the whole card pop. And so now I'm pretty satisfied on how that looks. And I'm going to go ahead and use my Spectrum Norm glitter pen, and I'm just going to go ahead and tap the roof part of the little village. I just want the roof part. I just want it to look like it's a little shingles, and the rest of the little building, I'm leaving it like a black matte, the color of the cardstock. And so right here now we're going to go ahead and glue the little bow down so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to add some little glue on the very top. Now, just remember these googly eyes, you guys. The back part, that rhyme, googly eyes, you guys. I'm a rapper. And so just remember that the back of these little googly eyes, they're a really thin plastic. And so if you were to throw these on as soon as you hit the glue gun, the hot glue would have melted it. So I put the dot of glue and I let it sit for a little bit, and then I added the eyes. And there you go. That just gave it that little extra arm. Welcome back, my little crafty monsters. That's how easy it was to make these little bad boys. These are super duper cute. If you want to go ahead and give a little Halloween card to that little special someone that you have in your life. Or maybe you want to go ahead and just make these into like a little birthday for maybe that little special goblin who was born in October. And also, if you want to make these as an invitation for that little Halloween party, this would be super duper cute to make these. And they were super easy. I mean, you know, use what you got, boo-boo. So I know you have some sort of little trim that you could use right here. Everybody has a little village. Everybody does, right? I mean, if it's in a stamp or if it's in a die, whatever it is, I know everybody has a village. So use a little village. And then these are vellums. Now, if you don't have a little stamp for these little guys right here, and notice I just did the tails, so they're kind of loose. So they look like they're just floating. So anyway, if you don't have a stamp, just go ahead and trace out a little ghost and cut them out. And then you just go ahead and color in the little eyes and the mouth. So it'll be a lot easier for you guys to do these little bad boys. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Don't forget to subscribe. Go ahead and hit that little icon. It's a picture of moi. And we become BFFFFFs because I know BFs is good, but BFFFFs is better. And I know you want to be my BFFFF. So go ahead and hit that little icon. And also, since you're already there, hello, go ahead and hit the little bell icon so that you guys will be reminded every time I upload a new content. And also give me a thumbs up because our channel needs that little thumbs up and it helps us grow. So go ahead and share and like and tell a friend, because you know, sharing is caring, my little boo-boos. Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy, boo-boos. Tell the world about Paper the Masterpiece. And that's it for now, my little crafty monsters. Until next time, bye.